that thing ain't passed the Turing test. I know it's a computer, you know?
Yep.
Versus me just talking to a person like, oh, how's it going, Jimmy? You know, I just need this, 2 seconds done, right?
We open the telephonic channel of speech between New York and London.
This is Fred Capel calling from the Earth Station at Andover.
Yeah, Marty Cooper here.
We are calling it iPhone.
So, Mike, thank you very much for having me, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
I appreciate it.
Nice
So,
to meet you. Right.
what exactly do you guys offer?
So we're a customer experience platform. We focus primarily on the digital experience of customers coming into a contact center. And I like to say that, we're all consumers, right? We all have called a bank or an insurance company, and how we're treated always leaves some sort of impression.
100%, yeah.
This is an industry that people love to hate.
Yes, it is.
And all the offshore call centers, and we provide the service provider a way to keep everything local. With an agent, they're not swivel chairing between different systems, putting me on hold, transferring me to another agent, making me re-authenticate myself. So
I'm not going to lie to you, that actually sounds amazing. And I'll tell you why, because I personally, well, we all have, right?
Sure.
Call and been like, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. Like, this person, and I'm not being offensive or anything, but like 9 times out of 10, they don't speak English. I can't understand them. They can't understand me. Right. It's total pain.
Right.
They have no idea what I'm talking about because they're not in the same geographical location that I am. It sounds like to me what you're offering is a need. It cures a need, not even just a want.
Right, and so, I spent most of my career on the operator side of things, and that need is huge. And so when I left the corporate world, it was, let's go start a company and solve these problems. And so beyond just making sure the agent can handle the contact when it comes in, we've evolved into, now I want the customer to define the experience.
Yes.
And so I want the customer to be able to say, today I'm going to call. The next time I come in, I might be sitting in the stands of my child's Little League game, and so I'm going to do an SMS text with you, or a web chat, or an email. And by doing that, I don't force anybody into any one way of behavior. It's you define the experience, and I will be there to resolve your issue.
This sounds like a very client-centric solution, if I had to put it that way. To me, it seems like you make the client basically the driver of that boat.
Right.
Is that kind of your thought process? Is that why you did that?
Yes, we put on our consumer hats and said, how do I want to be treated in these particular situations? And it always came back to letting the customer define the experience, and that's what we've developed with GoCare.
Well, let me ask you this. What gave you this idea? I mean, honestly, we all have had that experience. We all know what it's like.
Yeah.
I don't think, though, I've ever thought of finding a solution for that, but you did. So
yeah. So myself and Rick Perkins, the co-founder of GoCare, we're both officers at a publicly traded broadband company. And we were faced with this competition of trying to make quarterly numbers but not overwhelming the call center. Because every time you did any kind of direct mail or an advertisement, you drove calls into the call center. And so the call center was always pushing back on our initiatives to make those quarterly numbers. And so we said, let's look at the nature of the calls coming in, and it's what's my balance, when's my payment due, where's my technician, is there an outage, simple calls that people, you and I as consumers, we don't want to make that call.
Yeah.
And the company doesn't want to answer the phone to me.
Yeah.
And so we started delivering text messages to customers ahead of that call. Hey, your payment is due, your payment was received, there's an outage, your technician's on the way.
So you're being proactive.
And so you give the customer information before they really want to call. And once we got rid of all those sort of high volume calls, then you could focus on the agents and say, let the agent relieve themselves. They're not worried about the queue building up behind them, and then the agent's happier and they're giving the customer a better experience.
Man, I'll be honest with you, that is a very holistic way of thinking about it, right? Because you're not even just solving one problem.
Right.
You're not even just solving the customer care problem. You're actually being proactive. you're giving them the information that you know bulk is going to want to call and ask for anyways. So at the same time, though, you're freeing up the agents, which, let's be honest, they're humans. So when that queue gets smaller, they don't feel so rushed, so much pressure.
Right.
Better customer experience, happier customers, more apt to stay with you. It's just it's a cycle, right?
It is, and we're Gartner clients, and Gartner says it's a concept known as total experience, where the agent's happier, the customer is happier, and then the company wins, and so the company is happier. It really is a phenomenal concept.
That's amazing. So one thing I'm very interested to know, where do you kind of see this? Because I could see this going not just in our industry, but I mean every industry, right?
Right.
Where do you see this maybe in the next 5-10 years? And another question I have is, are you looking more long-term AI-based or keeping it people? Like which one?
Yeah. So first question, the next 5 years, we have just scratched the surface. We're a relatively small company, and this is an enormous industry, and so the opportunity is phenomenal. But with respect to the technology, there's nothing that keeps us in the broadband world. It just happens to be the industry that I know. And so we're going to take advantage of what we can in the broadband, but then ultimately I see it expanding into other verticals. With respect to AI, we try to encourage our clients to stay with the agent.
Yes.
And so I know, you know, when you're talking to a machine.
Yes.
And the analogy that we use is, let's not take the IVR pain points that everybody knows, press 1 for this, press 9 for that, and get lost, and then impose it on these digital channels that customers love. Let's put the agent there. We know that we can resolve them about 75% faster than they can resolve a phone call. It takes a 7-minute call down to about a 2-minute digital exchange. Man. And so let's give the operator those gains. We'll worry about AI after it matures and is a little bit more advanced. But the customer right now is first, and the agents can solve those problems much, much more quickly than they can with a phone call.
Absolutely. Honestly, and that's one thing us as consumers, me as well, all of us, we all know, and I know they try and say oh, you can't tell, it's past the Turing test. Well, listen, buddy, when I'm trying to call somebody, that thing ain't past the Turing test. I know it's a computer, you know? Yep. Versus me just talking to a person oh, how's it going, Jimmy? I just need this, 2 seconds done, right? Where if you try and if you overcomplicate it, try and get AI, try and do all this, not only is it, again, overcomplicated and a ton of network, ton of space needed, or a ton of something, versus we just have a nice person that you can talk to. Right. So I think that's amazing. I think that's great because you're really keeping it customer-centric with doing it that way.
Yeah, and we've got a really powerful analytics engine in the background that is showing our clients, the savings. It's the reduction in handling time over these different channels, but it's also that customers are getting a resolution to their problem on the first time, so that those customers are not coming back in 2 and 3 times because the previous contact really didn't work, or their call center was closed, or as you said, it went to an offshore call center and somebody really didn't understand the issue. So,
where they just read from a script and they don't understand. Correct. Man, I've got to ask you, how can people get a hold of you? Because this sounds amazing. I truly feel, yes, broadband is great, and like you said, it's something you knew, you got into it, but this is truly something that can serve everybody. Hotels, credit card, literally anybody.
Sure.
This sounds like an amazing solution to a serious problem.
Right.
So how can those people get a hold of you?
The best way to start is at our website. Go to GoCare'sCX.com.
Right.
CX for customer experience. So GoCare'sCX.com.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, Mike, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
Mark.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good talking to you.
And guys, let me tell you, if you are in the market for some kind of, you got a lot of customers calling in, even if you're just a muni and you've got whatever you got and it's just driving your entire town crazy, give them a call. This is exactly the kind of solution we need for this exact problem that we all have. All right, guys, I'll catch you later.
Alexander Graham Bell has passed away, but his successors shall carry forward to still greater triumphs the work that he began, and as long as man exists, the art which Bell created shall endure.